Welcome back. In this session, we will discuss something about network hardware, networking devices. So the devices which are used to connect different parts of a network or different networks together, those are called networking devices. So we will be focusing on all the networking devices: repeater, hub, bridge, switch, router, and gateway. These are the different devices used for networking, and they mainly differ in the layer in which they operate. You can see here these repeater and hub works on physical layer, and bridge and switch on detailing layer, like that. That means the piece of information they use for working is different. Okay, so we will see one by one. So in a typical scenario, user generates some data to be sent to a remote machine, right? And this data will be passed over to the transport layer of the sender machine. Transport layer will add its own header part, and this together will be passed on to the network layer. Network layer will add its own header, and this packet will be passed on to the data link layer. Data link layer will add its own header, and trailer also will be there, some checksum information. This together will form the frame, and this will be handed over to the physical layer, and physical layer will transmit this as signals over the medium. Let us start from there. Which are the different devices works on this physical layer? So we have the repeater first. So repeaters are used to connect two cable segments. So we have seen that there is a length limit, maximum length limit for cables. Beyond that, if we transmit the data quality may be degraded due to some signal attenuation and all. So the value of the data may be changed, right? So to avoid such situations, we will use this repeater. Just for example, in case of Ethernet and all, we may need a cable length of say 500 meters or 2500 meters and all. But the cable length may be, in case of UTP cables and all, 100 meter is the maximum length limit. So every 100 meter we will put this repeater. Okay. So the function of this repeater is to regenerate the original signal. It takes a signal from here and regenerate the original signal. Regenerate in the sense it will reproduce the original signal. Just for example, if this transmission uses this Manchester encoding, 1.8 volt indicates the binary 1 and minus 1.8 volt indicates the binary 0, right? So it receives signal from this cable and reproduce, that is, if corresponding signal is changed to 1 volt due to some attenuation, it will change into 1.8 volt itself, restore the original values. That is the functionality of this repeater. And so it will not understand anything like frames, packets, nothing, but it understands only volt. Okay, it will sense the voltage levels and reproduce the corresponding original levels. Next one is hub. Hub is also a physical layer device, just like repeater. It understands only the voltage signals and all. And the main difference between hub and repeater is that hub is a multi-port device. Repeater is used to connect two different segments, right? Whereas hub, multiple ports will be there. So multiple segments can be joined together using this hub. And hub, there can be two categories of hubs. Dumb hubs are there and intelligent hubs are there. In case of dumb hubs, that blindly copies the signal including noise. So there won't be any regeneration, simply copies the signal from one cable to the other cable. That's all in the case of a hub, a dumb hub. Whereas in case of intelligent hub, it acts as a repeater also. That means it understands the line encoding technique, decodes incoming signals and regenerates the fresh signals on other ports. Okay. So in this case, we can call it as a multi-port repeater. As the hub is not having any decision making capability, what it will do is it will receive signal in one line and copies the same over all the lines, all other lines. Okay. So in case of dumb hub, simply copies. In case of intelligent hubs, it will regenerate the original signal and copies to all the other lines. So the frames arriving on any of the lines are sent out on all the others, and all the lines coming into the hub must operate at the same speed. That's all the cables should be of the same speed. That is another condition in hubs. And if two frames arrive at the same time, they will collide. This stands like that, right? Because lot of cables are there to the hub, and the hub may receive signal from multiple lines simultaneously, right? And they will collide definitely. That means the entire hub forms a single collision domain. Next we have bridges. Bridges operates in the detailing layer. Okay, and these bridges are used to connect two or more LANs together. Not just a cable, but two different LANs can be connected together using a bridge. Okay, and each port is isolated to be its own collision domain. They may use its own algorithm like CSMA bar CD and all for collision solving, and each port acts as a separate collision domain. Okay, this data over this domain will not affect any of the lines over this domain. Okay, and this operates in the data link layer means it is having the capability of understanding a frame, right? It can see a frame, it can find out the source address, destination address and all, and upon receiving a frame in the bridge, it can find out the destination address and correspondingly it can port the corresponding frame. Suppose it's receiving a frame in this port and the destination address is belonging to this particular LAN, then it will place the corresponding frame over this port. Okay, multiple different ports can be there. So definitely there are some lookup tables will be here, and based on that table it will route by analyzing the corresponding destination address what port should be handed over. Okay. Another specialty here is the input lines may run at different speeds. So different types of LANs can be connected. Different LANs can have different speeds. That's not a problem in case of bridge. So definitely a buffer should be needed here, right? Because of the speed difference of different LANs connected, it should have a buffer to store the frame for some time. When a frame arrives, the bridge extracts the destination address from the frame header and looks up in the table to see where to send the frame. So definitely that switch table contains two entries for every destination, and each entry will contain two different fields. Actually, three different fields are there. Timestamp also will be there. So the entry mainly indicates that for that particular destination, which port to be followed. Okay, to which port this data frame should be put. Next comes switch. Switch is similar to a bridge because both of them works in the data link layer. Both of them forward frames according to the frame address. Okay, but the main difference is that switch is most often used to connect individual computers, whereas bridge connect individual LANs. Here it is individual computers. So you can see here the one configuration in which a bridge is used to connect two different LANs, whereas the switch here the individual computers are directly connected to this switch. Okay. Bridge should contain that much line cards to support that much different LANs, right? So here two different LANs are connected. So two different line cards should be there. Like that, more than two LANs are also can be there. So that much line cards will be there in this bridge, and also to support that much ports, buffer space will be there corresponding to every port. Okay, to store the frames corresponding to this port, we have a buffer here like that. For corresponding to every port, there will be a buffer also. So here also for each computer, each host machine, or it can be LAN also in some case. Most of the time it will be individual computer. So corresponding to each port here also there will be a line card separately, and buffer space also will be there. So the required memory, buffer space and line cards will be more in case of a switch, right? What about the collision domain? Let us compare this hub, bridge and switch in terms of collision domain. So here the entire system forms a single collision domain, right? So the chance of collision will be more here because if A and H send data simultaneously, the data will be collided and the packet frames will be lost, right? So the chance of collision and the chance of data losing will be more here. And what about the bridge? Every individual network forms its own collision domain. So this is one collision domain, this one is another collision domain. So this individual network will run its own collision detection or collision resolution algorithms. Say for example CSMA/CD here. So never the data from this domain will collide with this domain. Okay. So that is, so definitely the chance of collision compared to hub will be less in case of bridge. And what about switch? Here every machine is directly connected to the switch, right? So every machine forms its own collision domain. So there won't be any collision. Just for example, if a machine E send a frame to A, that directly goes to A, right? Now let us compare this bridge and switch in terms of data forwarding. Okay, suppose A wants to send a message or a frame to machine B. So that should be handled by this network itself, right? There is no need of this bridge in that case, because the bridge is actually used for data forwarding between two different LANs here. So if I want to send a packet to any of these four machines, it should be through this bridge. Otherwise, it should be handled by this LAN itself. So if that bridge receives such a frame destined to B, so the common port for A, B, C and D is this one. Say let us call it as port 1 and this one as port 2. So if it receives a data frame in port 1 from A destined to B, it will just simply discard it. Okay. What about switch? If it receives a frame from A destined to B, it should be definitely forwarded to this machine B, right? There is no other way to route the packets. That's the difference between bridge and switch. There is a switch which connects a set of PCs, server, printer and modem. And definitely the performance of switch is far better than bridge, but it is expensive. This is an example for a switching table which is used as a lookup table in both switch and bridge. So two fields are there for every entry. One more field is there, actually, that is a timestamp. For the time being, that is not important. So we will focus on these two fields only. Okay, so first one is address and the second one is interface. This address indicates the MAC address of a particular destination, and the second field of that particular entry indicates that for every frame which is destined to this particular MAC address should be ported over this port number or this interface. Okay. So like that, for every destination there will be an entry in this switching table, and these tables are actually updated using self-learning technique. Self-learning, let us see an example for that. Suppose this is port 1 and this is port 2 for this bridge, and in port 1 it receives a frame whose source address is A and destination address is say H. Okay, in that case, suppose there is no entry corresponding to this A. What this bridge will learn that, yeah, for this A belongs to a network whose port is port 1. Okay, so whenever I receive a packet or frame destined to this A, I should forward it to this port 1. So if there is no entry for A in that switching table, it will add an entry for A with the corresponding port number as port 1. Like that, for every machine it will update the corresponding switching table entry, so that later it can destine different packets through this corresponding port number. Now let us compare this hub and switch. Hub is actually a physical layer device and switch is actually a detailing layer device. Both are multi-port devices and connect individual nodes, individual systems, right? So the difference is that in case of hub, if it receives the data from a particular node, it will be forwarded to every other port. Okay, it is not having any ability to check the destination, or it is not able to realize the corresponding frame. That's the problem here. But in case of switch, it is having the capability of interpreting a frame, right? So it can find out what is the destination address, and the data will be forwarded to only that particular machine through that port which connect the particular machine. So this is how the hub and switch differs. So far we have discussed about different devices, like how two different devices can be connected if they are far apart, right? So the corresponding cable segments can be connected together using repeater, or how different multiple devices can be connected using hubs. Then if for organization have multiple LANs, how they can be interconnected using a bridge. Usually these types of bridges and all are required. Say for example, if a large organization is there, the different departments may be far apart. So each department can have its own LAN and they can be connected together using this bridge. And now this may not be the case always. We may have to transfer data or transmit data to a remote machine which is in some other network. Say for example in a WAN, if suppose in the case of internet itself, we have to transfer data or we have to access data from a machine which is in a completely different network. So in that case we have to see how different types of network can be interconnected. Just for example, one WAN and one LAN can be interconnected. Okay, so dissimilar networks how can be communicated together using a common protocol. So here comes router. Router works in the network layer. It works in the network layer means whatever may be the data link layer format and all, it is not bothered about such things. So a WAN can be there, a LAN can be there. The data link layer, it is not at all bothered about. As long as they are using some common routing protocol in the network layer, it can be routed using these routers. Okay, every router will have three different layers of software, right? Physical layer, data link layer and network layer. So when a packet comes into a router, the frame, header and trailer are stripped off, right, in the data layer itself, and the packet will be handed over to a routing software, that is in the network layer. And this routing software will consult the corresponding routing table to find the output line for this packet. So you can see here there is two different LANs, LAN 1 and LAN 2, which are connected through this router to the internet. Okay, so this internet contains a very large number of different types of networks into which our system is connected using this router. And we have seen the different routing algorithms and all, how this routing procedure is done, right? So router have to perform two different functions. One is forwarding and the second one is routing. As you know, forwarding means when it receives a packet, incoming packet, it should consult the routing table to find the outgoing interface to which this packet should be forwarded. So based on the destination address of the particular packet, corresponding outgoing line will be selected and this packet will be put over that line. That is called forwarding. And routing means every regular interval, these routing tables will be updated using some information exchange and all. We have seen different methods to update the routing table, like link state routing and distance vector routing and all, right? So that is the second procedure to update the routing procedure, routing tables and all. So in an abstract way, we have the sender machine which generates some user data using some application in the application layer. Then it will be transported over to this transport layer. Transport layer will put the corresponding process number and all. Then it will be handed over to network layer where this IP address or network address will be attached with. Then it will be given to the link layer to attach the MAC layer, MAC address and all. Then it is given to the physical layer. Then encoding will be done and it will be transmitted over the media, and it will read some switch within the local network itself, right? And there we have two different layers, link layer and physical layer. Again it will move through, suppose we have the destination machine in some other distant different network. Okay, in that case we have to use the support of router, and inside the router we have three different layers. In the network layer it will find out the destination network. Okay, so router may have different outgoing line, and based on the destination address of our particular packet, that will be put over the corresponding outgoing line which connect to our own destination host. And inside the destination host, it again moved to through different layers up to application layer, and it will be received by the corresponding application inside the destination host. So usually this router assumes the same protocol in the network layer. That means it can connect completely different networks like LAN, WAN, MAN, etc. But all of them use the same protocol, say just for example IP. But it can also connect completely dissimilar networks. Dissimilar in the sense, in the network layer also they may use different protocols. Just for example, one network may use IP in the network layer and the other network may use IPX in the network layer. So in that case, the router which convert the protocol is called multi-protocol router. In that case, what the router will do is it will translate between the packet formats. So IP and IPX will have definitely different formats, right? So in the router, this packet conversion also will be done. Such a requirement is rare nowadays because this IPX is not that much using nowadays. It was prominent internet networking protocol in the late 1980s to mid 1990s, and it was used in novel network operating system. And the main advantage or attraction behind this IPX was it was required only a small footprint for the IPX driver, so which was very vital for DOS and Windows up to Windows 95. Because that time memory size was very limited. In that case, IPX was commonly used. It was also easy to configure client computers using this IPX. But the problem was that IPX does not scale well for large networks such as internet. So it was later replaced by this TCP/IP, which has nearly become universal. And finally, we have the gateways. Gateways works on higher layers. So in the case of routers, whatever may be the type of network, as far as they are using the same network protocol, say for example TCP/IP, routing of packet is not an issue in case of a router, right? It can easily route packets to any network. But there can be cases like different networks are completely different in terms of the transport protocol itself. Just for example, one network runs this TCP/IP, whereas the other one runs another protocol like ATM protocol or SCTP protocols, etc. In that case, the packet format will be completely different, right? So in that case, the network it will be difficult to understand what the format of this packet and all. In that case, the transport gateway can copy the packet from one connection to other, reformatting them as need to be. Depending on the type of network, from one interface to another network interface, it will reformat the entire packet content. So that is done by this gateways. So usually gateway will be located at the boundary of a network, and that manage all the data inflows and outflows from that network. And there are gateways which works on the application layer also. That is called application gateways. Application gateways looks beyond TCP, IP, UDP header and make policy decision based on the application data. So it works on application layer means it can understand the application layer data. So obviously for every type of application process, there should be separate gateway in case of application gateway, right? Usually in the same server, different application gateways may be implemented, or it can be done in software also. And an application gateway is an application specific server through which all application data must pass. Usually it acts as a proxy server in many cases, firewalls and all. So multiple applications gateways can run on the same host, but each gateway is a separate server with its own processes. So definitely each gateway can understand the format and contents of its own application specific data, right? Just for example, an email gateway could translate internet messages into SMS message for mobile phones. Okay, such a gateway can be there. When used in enterprise scenario, a gateway node may be supplemented as proxy server or firewall, usually kept in the boundary of a network to filter different application specific data. Okay, and so intruders can be find out. Such a firewall and activities also can be done using these application gateways, and it can be implemented either in hardware or software. Okay, in case of hardware, multiple NICs will be there corresponding to every network to which this gateway is connected. Otherwise, it can be configured using software. Different types of application gateways are there depending on the use of that particular gateway. This, for example, network gateway. This is the most common type of gateway that provides an interface between two dissimilar networks operating with different protocols. And then we have IoT gateway. IoT gateways assimilate sensor data from IoT devices in the field and translate between the sensor protocols before sending it to the cloud network. So if you want to connect a device, IoT device to a network, we can use this IoT gateway. And then voice over IP TRAN gateway, it facilitates data transmission between plain old telephone service, that is ports, devices like land phones and fax machines to this voice over IP, VoIP network. So these are different types of application gateway. So we have learned different devices which is used to connect different parts of a network and different types of network together. Okay, thank you.